Hello, 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 and welcome to the coronavirus update video number 48.0. Today's date is the 4th of May. It is 4 p.m. and welcome. A lot of people have been messaging, asking where I've been, asking why haven't there been a live video. I'm back. I promise that I am back today. I had to take the weekend off for my mental health, for my health, for my family. I just had to take that weekend off. So thank you for all the messages. I really appreciate it. You know, there were so many messages on here, on Instagram, even on YouTube. All of you guys sending your wishes, wishing me a happy weekend, and I did. I was able to relax, and you can tell already. I feel a little bit better. Definitely feel a bit better. Okay, so we've got a lot of news to catch up on. Obviously, over the weekend, there was a few announcements, of course, with the Boeing.es, the Royal Decree. A lot of documents came out as well. The guys in N332, Phoebe, she's actually been keeping me updated as well. She's been sending me over articles that she's been translating. So a big thank you for Phoebe on N332, the page. If you're not following them, definitely go and follow them as well, because I'm definitely one of the ones who follow a lot of their information, and a lot of their information I do put into this show as well as checking it with the Royal Decree, but they do their research just like me. So for anyone who doesn't follow N332, go and follow them, because they are really up to date with their stuff. Alright, so let's start off. I'm still getting messages on my laptop here of people asking where I am. I'm here. I am here, guys. Go to the Facebook page. Alright. Just like at the start of every single show, I like to go through the numbers, so we'll do that very quickly. So the infection rate, we are up to 218,011, and that is only 356 over the last 24 hours. The recovery rate, we are 121,343 people in total who have recovered from the coronavirus, and that is 2,441 over the last 24 hours. And death rates, unfortunately, we do like to talk about it on here, because we need to know these numbers as well, not just the infection rate, but the death rate as well. And it is still going down. We're at 25,428 in total, and that is 164 in the last 24 hours. Great numbers to see. Really positive things coming from the infection rate going down so low. In fact, this is the lowest that it's been in 2 months. So this is really good numbers for the infection rates there. Anyway, how are you guys? I've missed you. How was your weekend? Tell me. You can give a little thumbs up. What did you guys get up to? Did you get out and do some exercise? Because that is, of course, the biggest topic that was happening over the weekend. Of course, Saturday, the 2nd of May, everyone was allowed out to do some exercise, or at least go for a walk. However, there was, of course, a lot of problems. One, I think the major problem was because the local towns and the local city halls, they were not really aware of these rules until the last moment. And then when it was announced, of course, all of these other announcements came out from the individual town halls. And I think that caused a lot of chaos. So where it stands, basically there are different time schedules of when you're allowed to go out to exercise, okay? So when you're allowed to go out for exercise, you're allowed to go from 6 a.m. in the morning until, if I can get it up here, because I did do it, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. for anyone 14 years old up to 70-year-olds, and from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. you're allowed out to do some exercise. Even if you wanted to go for a walk, you're allowed to go for a walk. Now, this is where, of course, a lot of confusion was, because, well, some people, of course, they are elderly, 70 plus, but really good fit health. And of course, they were wondering, well, do we have to go with the exercise group, or do we have to go with our slot for age group? Again, there was no actual real information about that. I know there's a lot of fit and healthy older generation out there, and quite rightly, if you want to get on your bike and go and do some exercise, then yes, you're allowed to do that. But you will have to do that in the time schedule that is allotted for you. And a lot of people were asking, well, my partner is over 70 and I'm under 70. Where should we go? Again, the advice was to go in the 70 group, which is from 10 a.m. to midday and 7 until 8 p.m. Okay, so that's basically the advice that has been put out. So if you do have a partner, go out with them in the 70 group. that's probably going to be the best thing. And now for kids, this was the big update as well, and a lot of families weren't actually aware of this. The kids or children, they were allowed out from 12 midday until 7 p.m, any time frame, but only 1 hour. Whereas the adults and the plus 70s, everyone was still getting confused about the distancing and the time frame, as in the time you're allowed to go out. Well, there never was an actual state that said you're only allowed out for 1 hour. There was no state in the royal decree that said this. So you're allowed to go out for as much time as you want in those time periods. So if you wanted to go out from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m, you can go out the whole 4 hours, and you can go. I'm getting phone calls as well. A walk is only around 1 kilometer from your property. Whereas if you're doing exercise, you have to stay in your municipal. And that is the next chaos that happened. So the royal decree stated that you are allowed to go within the municipal of your area. So for example, I'm in Corvera, and Corvera belongs to the municipal or the municipality of Murcia. And there are so many other areas, towns, villages that are actually included in that municipal, which means we had to stick with that time schedule. However, there was a document that came out on the Murcia town hall, and they stated, well, no, we are not doing this. We're actually going to be doing it not from municipales, but we're going to be doing it from I'll get this right, pedanías, which are basically smaller sections of the municipales. So because they're doing it with the smaller sections of the municipale, that means a lot of those small sections were able to go out whenever they liked. Again, very, very confusing. And this actually happened all over Spain. A lot of the town halls started putting this out, but in no place in the royal decree does it state that you have to do it with your pedanías. You have to do with the municipales, but the town halls were saying, no, we're going to do it with the pedanías, not the municipales. So it was chaos, absolute chaos. But the majority of the people, they stuck with the rules, and they stuck with a good time frame. They didn't go out for too long. They tried to go in those schedules as well. So I think overall it was actually a pretty good success for the people around where I am, anyway, from what I could see. However, in the big cities such as Madrid, Barcelona, yeah, there was going to be, of course, a lot of people breaking these rules. One, because they're in a big city, and to keep a social distance is very, very difficult for them. And that's why you have to think, the government are thinking of the big cities. They're not really thinking about the small villages or the small towns. So yeah, I can understand why the town halls have said, well, no, we should not be restricted because we have hardly anyone in our village. So yeah, I kind of get that. I kind of understand why that was going on. So what can I say to you? What can you take away from this? Best thing you can do, if you're still not sure on what time frame you should be going out, contact your local town hall. On Facebook, they should have a Facebook page, or even go onto their Facebook page, because the majority have put out a post stating what times people are allowed to go out, or if there are any time limits, as in a time schedule at all. And that's actually where we've seen a lot of the places. For example, Sucina, there's a small town quite close to here as well. They put out, and the mayor actually put out a post saying that no, Sucina is its own pedanía, and we're allowed to go out any time of the day. So yeah, as long as you got that little bit of evidence from the town hall, you should be okay to go out. Now, another thing a lot of people were getting confused with was the time limits, as in how long you're allowed out. I said it earlier, there are no time limits whatsoever. You're allowed to exercise, and exercise includes going out for a run, a jog, or cycling. This is fine to do, no problem whatsoever. Even if you're quite close to the mountains and it's in your municipal, you're allowed to go for a run in the mountains, no issue whatsoever. Now, some people have been arrested and fined. Of course, we were expecting that to happen. But the majority of them were actually people not abiding by the rules, but actually people stopping in certain areas. For example, going out for a walk and stopping, even taking a seat and sitting down. This is not allowed whilst you're out on your exercise. I understand with the plus 70 group, I completely understand, and I'm sure the police will be very, very honest about this and not arrest or fine anyone who is elderly. However, it's actually the younger generation where some people were going down to the beach and they were sunbathing. This is not permitted. You are not allowed to go out and sunbathe. You're not allowed to go to a place and just rest, sit in a park. You can't do this. You have to do exercise, continuous exercise. Even if you're running, dying, okay, you get tired, you can just walk it off a little bit. Even if you're tired and exhausted, I think the police will know if you're almost about to die. What else is there? Oh, and that was the big news that came out over the weekend as well. Just after I posted my little vlog video that I put out of me doing some exercise, I came back home and I got a message from my dad, actually, and he forwarded on a bit of information which was from another page, and they took it from another page, and dogs are allowed out. That's it. Dogs are now allowed out when you're doing exercise or going for your walk. Even with kids, you're allowed to take your dog out. This is fine. There was, of course, a lot of people still concerned about taking the dog out because they saw an infographic video on the Ministry of Health Facebook page, but it never stated anything about a dog. It just showed a picture of a dog, but it never said anything about a dog. So, of course, people were still confused. But the Ministry of Animal Care, they put out a post late Saturday afternoon, and yes, dogs now are allowed to go out when you're walking, when you're exercising, if you want to go for a run with them, when you're taking your kids out, no problem whatsoever. So this is really, really big thumbs up. Now, I'm going to give, I know a lot of people have been talking about this already when I put the post out, but please pick up the dog poop if your dog does a poop. Doesn't matter where it is. Pick up your dog poop. That should be a common sense thing. And also, it is by law, you have to have your dog on the lead. You can have an extendable lead, but you have to have your dog on a lead. And I believe in some regions, not all regions, certain dogs over a certain weight have to have a muzzle on when they're going out as well. But please check with your local area, your local region for these rules, okay? All right, let's move on. Extension. So there's been a bit of news about the extension being put forward. And yeah, we kind of expected President Sanchez to put this extension forward. One, because it falls in place with the phases that we're going to be going into. So at the moment, we are currently in phase 0. Now, phase 0, we've got a lot of new things that we can talk about here, what has been opening up, etc. But we'll go into that afterwards. But President Sanchez has stated, yes, he will be putting an extension on, but it's not going to be like the extensions that we've got at the moment. It's not going to be complete restriction. He's going to be putting extensions on, but with the new phases rules in place. So if the next phase is phase 1, for example, this should be taking off hopefully around the 10th of May, 11th of May. And again, no dates have actually been published. So if anyone's sharing dates of when phase 1 is, this is not actual factual information. President Sanchez will have to announce it. So if we are reaching phase 1 in, let's say, May the 10th, the lockdown will actually start permitting people to go out, being able to go and see your friends and families at their houses. So, you know, it's not necessarily going to be a complete lockdown, but it's just the phasing. It's a lighter lockdown than what we previously were in. So I understand why he's going to be asking for this. He's got this plan of the phases going out, and yeah, I think it's going to be reasonable. We don't want a relapse of this, and we don't want to have a spike in the results of the infection. So yeah, I understand that. However, there is some political tension between President Sanchez and some other political parties, and they have actually refused to vote for any more extensions. Now, of course, President Sanchez in the past, he has heard this from the political parties, but he has, of course, spoken with these political parties, and he has tried to get some sort of an agreement between them. And this is where I think the phases actually came in place from the other political parties as well, and coming to an agreement on this too. All right. Now we're talking about extension. We're hopefully going to find out on Wednesday if the extension is going to be passed in Congress. Again, we have to wait and see what the other political parties say. So until then, no extension yet. We're still on May the 9th, but we'll see how it goes. Now, if, for example, the extension is not approved, where does it leave the country? Well, we're not actually sure. If the extension is not approved, then that means everything goes back to complete normality, as in everyone has to go back to work. There will be no rules or laws stating that nobody can be off work, so it's kind of a free-for-all. So until we find out what's going to happen from Congress on May the 9th, we don't really know what's going to happen after this. All right, so speaking of phases, we spoke about phase 1 last week. We spoke about what things can be done, hopefully what's going to be put into place. But there have, of course, been some changes, and this is a never-ending changing discussion. It's always changing. So this is why it's so important to do these live videos, because it is very, very important to get the correct information out there as much as possible. Okay, so the big information that's come out is, I believe yesterday evening, about 2 people going in the car, but this is actually a misunderstanding. Now, 2 people going in the car, if it's your private car, is not allowed. I know, I'm sorry, don't shoot the messenger. Just translating what has been put out there. And even N332, they've had a hard 24 hours when they posted the original post, and they've had to repost it again because, again, people aren't quite understanding the translation of this. So what's happening with people in the car? So at the moment, in the royal decree, it says transporte privado particular is, this is going to be taxis and chauffeurs and services offering help for taking the elderly. That's the kind of service. It's basically private companies, taxis. Now, these are the ones where you can have more than 2 people in a car now. It does not say anything about your own vehicle and taking people in your car. I'm very sorry about that. But it did say the basics of, for example, taxis, chauffeurs, up to 9 places. 2 people will be allowed per row. So if you do have a big family and you need to go to a certain place, I doubt you will in the moment, but you will be allowed to do this, and you're allowed to book a taxi, basically. Taxis always have to follow certain protocols now, so every time they are used, they have to be wiped down and sanitized. So do not worry about that. I know a lot of people are complaining about, well, why should I go in a taxi which hasn't been cleaned? It has to be cleaned. By law, it has to be cleaned, and the police are checking with this as well. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger. I'm sorry. This is just the information that's out there. Now, what we can say is it's been put forward that in phase 1, people will be allowed to go into cars together. We don't know how many will be allowed to go in, but most likely it will be 2 adults and a child, if of course there is a child involved as well. It could be 2 per row. We don't really know, so we just have to wait and see what's going to be coming out. But most likely it's going to be phase 1, which is hopefully in a week's time. Fingers crossed. All right. When can I visit friends and family? And again, friends and family, hopefully we're going to be able to go to other people's houses where they haven't had any symptoms, haven't had the virus, and are not vulnerable. We will be allowed to go around to their houses and of course see them, hug them. And I think that is going to be the biggest thing that we will have accomplished in however many days we've been in lockdown. To be able to get to that stage again, it's going to be really, really heartwarming. And I think that is going to be the booster that we all need. To be able to go and see our friends, to be able to go and see our family, to hug them, for the grandparents to come and see my daughter. That's going to be the big game changer there. So hopefully this is going to be from phase 1. Now, if all goes well, phase 1 could be within a week's time. Again, it could be by different regions. So, for example, the region of Murcia, maybe they come into phase 1 sooner. Instead of Madrid, Castilla-La Mancha, they come into phase 1 maybe a couple of days later. So it's all done by regions. It could be all by Spain. We don't know because the infection rates are still going down at the moment. Also, in phase 1, bars, cafes, restaurants, phase 0. Bars, cafes, restaurants, they can now offer the pickup service of, or delivery service of their foods and drinks. Drinks would be a bit more difficult, but food especially. And that is from today. So, for example, local bars, local restaurants, if you've got tapas available, food available for delivery service or pickup service, you're allowed to do this. Now, some people have already been asking, well, how far can I travel to go and pick up? I believe it's not written in the royal decree, but what I believe is going to be put into place by Guardia Civil, police, if they do stop you, it's going to be by municipales or municipalities. So in other words, the regions that you've been doing for exercise, I think it's going to be down to that. Now, of course, with the town halls separating those municipales into separate ones as well, I don't know where we stand on this. I really don't, because now it becomes even more confusing because the town halls are saying, well, it's going to be done through pedanillas instead of municipales. So again, we're lost. We're absolutely lost here. But what I will suggest is try to go to your local bars, restaurants and cafes to pick up the local food from there. Do not go too far. Try and stay within your town or at least your municipal because then you're going to be in the safe zone. That's all I can suggest there. You know, there's no actual royal decree that says you can't go to another place, but it's the suggestion that is municipal. You have to stay within your municipal. That's where it should be. So stay there, okay? That's what we should be doing. Right, and from phase 1, hopefully the bars and restaurants will be opening up with a 50% capacity, not 30%, which is what we received last week. And I remember saying it on Thursday and Friday that in phase 1 we'll have a 30% occupancy in terraces on bars and restaurants and cafes. But no, it's now been put up to 50%. I believe, of course, with all of the people complaining about this and all of the bar owners, restaurant owners saying that they will not be able to open up, I think the government have taken this as a big hint, and they have said, right, okay, it's now going to be 50% in phase 1, and most likely it will go up to another 30%, maybe 25%. So it probably could go up to maybe a 70% of occupancy on the terrace and maybe a 50% on the inside in phase 2. We'll wait and see what actually happens, because again, it is a never-ending changing story, so we don't know until it comes to the royal decree what is actually going to be put into place. Okay, next thing. Builders. There's been a lot of news coming out, and this was actually put out last night. So again, very, very confusing with the royal decrees. It's such short notice, but this is now out. Builders, you are now allowed to go to communal areas, but you have some limited movements in there as well. So in the royal decree previously, builders were allowed to go back to work. However, they weren't allowed to work on houses that had occupancies or people living there full time. They weren't allowed to go into apartment blocks where the communal area was going to be occupied, or a risk of being occupied by a resident or something like this. But they've actually changed this now. Builders and construction workers, they are now limited movement of workers and materials through the common areas and have not been sectioned off. So any communal areas, for example, that have been closed off, such as swimming pools, you will not be able to pass through them. That's basically it. But you are allowed to go onto apartment blocks. You're allowed to go into apartments, and you'll be able to do your work there. And all possible measures are to be taken during the course of the day to avoid contact with neighbours of the building. Great news. So you're allowed to go into apartment blocks, and you're allowed to go into villas, homes, which are now occupied. So this is good news for all of the builders out there, and even any other workers, window fitters. I know there's been a couple of people messaging me about fitting windows and stuff like this. So this is now good news as well. Also the rules of builders as well, accessing and exiting the communal premises, dwellings, or other areas must take place at the start of the day and the end of the working day when you leave. So in other words, when you go in, you are there for the day. So try to make sure you've got your lunch with you, enough water, because that's where you should be for the rest of the day. The only time that you should be trying to leave is, of course, when you have an emergency or something like this. You should try to make sure you've got all of your materials, your equipment, everything that you may need to do the job, and then do it during the day. All right, and the workers adopt the prevention and hygiene measures indicated by the health authorities against the COVID-19. Now, what does this mean? It basically means that you have to wear masks, gloves, and other safety material. Now, we had a plumber here the other day. We had some problems with the smell here. Plumber came in, gloves, mask. We kept our distance, no problem whatsoever. And in that case, it's an emergency, so we got no issues with this. All right, let's move on. We've got a few more things to go through. Can I travel from one municipal to another? Now, at the moment, this is not actually allowed. So this is where I state that you cannot go to a supermarket that is further away in your municipal. However, with the rules that have been coming into place now, it's most likely that you'll be able to go to a supermarket that is maybe not your nearest one, but still in a close proximity. Now, being able to travel from one municipal to another, that's most likely not going to happen until we're in stage 2, maybe stage 3. However, there is going to be permissions available for anyone who does have to cross the municipal border for workers, people going to work in different areas. Of course, you have to have proof of residency and proof of address and proof of the address of your work where you're going to as well. But work will be permitted, and emergencies as well, of course, hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, if it's in the other municipal. Again, this is all going to be permitted, but you have to have the proof to be able to go into the other municipal. Right, when can I move house? This looks like it's most going to be happening in phase 2 because the royal decree is basically, or not the royal decree, the guide that they're staying at the moment. Moving house in the same municipal, if it's an emergency, you are able to do it at the moment. In phase 1, it's most likely you'll be able to go from one house to another, but only stay there. You won't be able to do separate trips, but most likely it's going to be in phase 2 where moving companies are going to be able to come in. But again, we don't know this information yet. It hasn't been confirmed officially, so we're just waiting to see what's going to be happening with moving house yet. But for the moment, you're not allowed to move unless it is an absolute emergency. All right, and lastly, we'll go into today. Now, today, May the 4th, a lot of shops were meant to be opening. Hairdressers, beauticians, they're now allowed to open up. And we've had a lot of messages on here. Even yesterday, bombarded with messages. And the takeaway from this, hairdressers are now open. Yes, if you are a hairdresser, you can go back to work. If your boss is making you go back to work, technically he's allowed to now, or she's allowed to now, so you are allowed to go back to work now. And no, there was some people saying that it's only the owners that can go back to work. No, this is not the case. This was last week when they were going in for preparations, but now going into work and you have clients, then yes, you are allowed to have more than one employee in the space. Now, when it comes to hair salons, you have to have distancing between the different clients. So what a lot of people have been doing, they've been sealing off one of the chairs or the wash basins, so they're making sure that they've got a 2-meter distance as well. I know hairdressers will not be able to wash someone's hair by standing all the way back here. So it's keeping a general distance and keeping your safety as well. That's basically it. You know, they're not expecting you to use a mop and a brush from far a distance. They're not expecting you to do that. Now, hairdressers can open up, and other shops can actually start opening up as well, which is beauticians, for example. If you've got your own premises, you're allowed to open up. Clothes shops, you're allowed to start opening up. Bookshops, you're allowed to open up shop. And most of the shops actually that are not in commercial areas, such as shopping centres, and has less than 400 meters square shop front or shop, you are allowed to start opening up, but this always has to be by appointment only. And yes, even including clothes shops, bookshops, you have to ring ahead and you have to do an appointment kind of system. So if this means that you've now got to create a Facebook page and get your information out to the clients, this is the best thing you've got to start doing now. Start creating a database of all the clients that you have, email addresses, create a Facebook page, and get your information out there. Get your telephone number so people can start calling you to start making appointments. That's going to be the best thing you can do there. Majority of you shop owners, you've probably already got a Facebook page. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good thing there. But that's basically it. And yeah, it's one worker per one client. So if you've got a salon, you've got 3 workers in there, you're permitted to have 3 clients in there at a time. But you are not able to have one client washing the hair, one client hair drying, and then one client having her nails done, and it's only you working. You're not allowed to do this. It's one client per worker. That's all it is. And that's the same for clothes shops, bookshops, whatever. Okay, one person, one client. All right. And that's basically it. Oh, and I put this right at the end there. You have to stay in your municipal unless you don't have the service available. This was actually something I found out very, very quickly towards the end as I was coming in here. Basically, people have been asking about the supermarkets. Can I go to a further supermarket? Blah, 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 blah. With the way the rules are going at the moment, yes, you will be able to go to a further supermarket, but it has to be in your municipal. And it has to be, if, for example, you want or you need to go to a place that is out of your municipal, you are able to, but only if you can prove that you don't have this service in where you are or close to where you are. So, for example, supermarkets. This is where the conundrum comes into place. Can I go to a further supermarket? Technically, you can, but only if you can prove that that supermarket has stuff that this supermarket doesn't have. Does that make sense? I hope. But yeah, again, it's all very wishy-washy. And until we get the actual announcement from the royal decree stating that you're allowed to go to a further supermarket, we can't say, yes, you can go further, or yes, you can go down to the coast and go to Iceland. We can't say this yet. You have to stay in your municipal That's the only rule that we can say at the moment. That's it, guys. All right, now, big announcement. Don't go anywhere just yet, okay? I know normally when I say that's it, don't go anywhere just yet. Now, I took the weekend off. One, I had to do it for my mental health. I had to do it for my family's health and for my family support as well. You guys know that I've got a little baby girl, and I just had to have time with them. And this is, now that my real estate job is now coming back, I'm not able to go out as a real estate and show properties yet. However, I'm starting to contact clients, starting to update the website a bit more, and now that's got to take a lot of my time as well. So the announcement is I'm still going to do these videos. I am going to keep researching, and when we get a bit of news come up, I'm going to be doing two things. One, I'm going to be doing a live video just like this every Monday and Friday. I know, please don't cry. So every Monday and every Friday, 4 p.m, I'm going to be doing a live video just like this. So what you can do, go onto your phone, set a timer for Monday and Friday, 4 o'clock or even 3:55, set a timer and I will be here. I'm going to put an announcement after this as well, just a little post. So every Monday and Friday I'll do a live post or a live video just like this. I'll do probably one question and answer and then one with just updated news. But I will be uploading videos during the week as well. When we get something that is crucial information, for example, news about phases opening up, going to phase 2 or phase 3, whatever, I will do a pre-recorded video, one, because it doesn't take me a long time to do, and I can actually get it out within 10 minutes. And that's where I think I just have to have that time back again. I'm really sorry, guys, because you guys have made this page, you guys have made this unbelievable experience memorable, because, yeah, I will take this away. And when I come out of the lockdown, when we all come out of the lockdown, I know that I think I've made a difference here. I know I have. So I will keep doing these videos, and I will still put out content every single day or every other day, but it will be a pre-recorded video and a live show every Monday and Friday. Also, I've got plans already of what to do with this page after coronavirus. Most likely it's going to be something to do with you guys. I've got some things in the works at the moment, but most likely it's going to be involving you guys, and I will need participation as well. But we will come to that when we're out of the lockdown and when we're out of, hopefully, danger of the coronavirus as well. But for the moment, please remember to stay safe. Enjoy your exercise. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for a run later on this afternoon as well. But stay safe, and I will see you on Friday at 4 p.m. Not tomorrow. I'll see you at Friday at 4 p.m. I'll still be with you, I promise. All right, guys. See you Friday. Bye.